Welcome to Calm, Clear Conversations. I'm Christopher Johnson with Calm, Clear Communications, and with me today is none other than Adam Marx.
It's great to be here. I'm excited.
Likewise. All right, so Adam, well, first things, we have not met in real life yet. Yet, uh, it's been an interesting time these last few years, but we know each other through Brenda Meller.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, she's an outstanding networker.
Yeah, she is for sure.
Networking. Your title that you didn't give yourself is
The 0 to 1 networker is a moniker that I truly don't know how it started. So one day when there's a Wikipedia page about me, um, it'll just have a question mark. I think that where it started, if I were to take a guess, was I enjoy facilitating conversations and being at the nexus of a lot of different communities. Um, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But ultimately, it started with people saying, "Oh, it's kind of like this," because in startups in tech, the 0 to whatever is a very popular kind of thing. 0 to sold, 0 to engineered, 0 to whatever. And because it really encapsulates the startup world, right? It's that first step that's always very difficult and challenging. And so I think someone gave it to me one day, and it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound bad. That sounds pretty cool. Let's run with that and see where it goes. So there,
yeah.
that's how
Let's
I did.
run with that. Yeah, it's I like the attitude of embracing that that type of energy.
Yeah,
So community. All right,
yeah.
community and networking. What is the that nexus? There's a lot of overlap there,
Mhm.
but what does that mean for you?
So I'm glad that we're starting in that topic, and and I'm glad we're doing this chat this week as opposed to last week. And here's why. I was finally able to announce on Friday, last Friday, that I'm joining the Atlanta Tech Village, which we'll get into in a minute, as an advisor specializing in networking and community building. And the Atlanta Tech Village, for people who don't know, is actually the fourth highest concentration of tech startups in the country. Um, and so uh, companies like Calendly, they're out of the Tech Village. Sales Loft has a big relationship there. Rigor. So these are all really well known Atlanta startups that are growing. And so the reason that I want to share that particular piece of information, other than to plug an organization I'm very happy to be working with, is you know, oftentimes, certainly in tech and startups, and anyone who's seen the Facebook movie or watched Shark Tank, there's a lot of talk about what I call the engineering nuts and bolts, right? There's a lot of talk about the financial component of starting a business. There's a lot of talk about if you're in tech, software, hardware, sales, marketing. All of these are critical to building a successful business at any level. But what I find oftentimes is that sales and marketing, particularly, get mushed in with networking, or rather, networking gets mushed in with those two. And sales and marketing, critical portions of your company, fundamentally different than networking. When you're doing a sale, the point is to get to that transaction, to make that sale. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the point of selling. When you're networking, and I tell my clients or audience members or whoever will listen, non-transactional networking is what works. How I get in front of people is not by sending them a business pitch. So when I teach people to build communities and build non-transactional networks, it starts with understanding, how do I how do I get into this dialogue that's happening in a way that is value creating, that is searching for mutual benefits, and how do I continue that dialogue long term? So it's 10 months, not 2 weeks. And people who try to hack networking, I think, end up finding it very, very difficult and ultimately not successful in the way that would lead to long-term business relationships. So that's kind of a long roundabout answer, I suppose.
Well, no, it's the perfect length. I mean, non-transactional. So first of all, we connect as one human to another,
Mhm.
wherever we are, we meet people where they are, we engage them where they are. Uh, and that is not always what people think of with networking.
Mhm. I
But
get that a lot. I mean, when people, and this is why, like, there's a running joke in a lot of communities on tech Twitter, which I love, on LinkedIn, which I also love. The running joke is kind of poking fun at networking and poking fun at, like, how terrible networking events are. COVID's a whole different factor, but going to in-person networking events, yeah, they typically suck, because it's everybody handing out their business card, not really interested in taking anyone else's business card unless they can see, like, oh, this is someone I can sell to. And then it's, one or two free drinks, it's bad beer, it's overpriced food, it's an uncomfortable situation. Then you go home at the end of the night and you kind of wonder, did I make any sales? Did I find any leads? It's kind of like lead gen. That's not good networking. Good networking is understanding who likes what TV show. It's understanding who has a similar music taste, who has a similar sense of humor, who can I connect somebody with, because I know that they just have to get on a 5-minute conversation. So I like to say that I like to think of myself as, if anyone's seen Pawn Stars, like the bald guy is always like, I got a buddy, right? And he's got a buddy for cars and toys and rare books and whatever. And I like to be that person. I want to be the person that says, I got a buddy. I know someone you should talk to. And when you do that, when you approach it that way, really staggeringly interesting things happen, and sometimes you end up 40 floors above the city looking out going, what am I doing here in this room with these people who are impressive, and I could tell that story. It can happen. It's not just in the movies, but you have to prep the
sure.
ground for that to be an experience.
Yeah, so the spray and pray model of
Mm-hmm.
networking is that never really did work. Going to an event and spraying your business cards all over
Right.
the table and saying it'll work.
And
No.
that's not even how I go about the I love to be on podcasts. I love speaking opportunities. I hope to be doing more in person, COVID permitting. Um, but I don't spray and pray with podcasts either. I'm very selective about who I want to talk to and the kind of message that's going out to the audience. Um, because I was a radio DJ in college. I mean, I was in the music industry, for people on LinkedIn don't know this. I was in the music industry for like 15 years. So, like, I've been a journalist, I've been a DJ, I know I've gone to Warped Tour, I've had press access. Like, I had a whole life in the music world before doing this kind of stuff. And that's where I learned how to build relationships, how to cold email, how to do things like that. And I hated when people would email me and say, hey, will you play our stuff? Normally my answer is yes, except if it's a genre that just doesn't fit with the format of the show. I'm not out there to tear somebody down or tear apart their art or their expression. It's just, hey, it just doesn't fit with the genre that we're working with here. And what that tells me, though, is that they haven't done any real research. They haven't done any real even looking at the pages just to understand like what's the background, what am I about, what are we, can we talk about something? And people perceive that kind of stuff as like wasting time, right? Because it's like, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. And it's not wasting time. And it's a true statement for anyone who listens to me knows I say this all the time. I have built a stupid criminal network on the back of like Friends clips, Family Guy gifs, Boy Meets World gifs. I mean, I'm serious. I pick up like LinkedIn, TikTok influencers, Twitter people who I want to talk to, or marketers, 20, 30,000 followers, like boom, 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 with gifts, not with, hey, I have something, you should buy my service. And
Yeah.
it's not even close. It's like 85% humor, humility, supporting others, and then like 15% like, hey, I'm so great, you should check out my service. It just is, that's the split.
Well, and see, you know what? That is as it should be.
Hmm.
I mean, because first and foremost, we're supposed to be, if we're networking, then we are engaging with each other.
Hmm.
And so one of the things I didn't know, your radio background. So I too, yes, I've worked in radio, and it is that familiarity, it is that engagement. When you are there having fun, and it is discernible that you are having fun, you enjoy what you do,
Hmm.
then people will engage.
It's that, and it's also you become an expert, quote quote expert. You become you build credibility without realizing it. And so this is a true story. So I did that for my first startup out of college was a music tech startup, and that's kind of how I got into tech. It's I would start tweeting about these things. It's what led to my career as a tech journalist. That's a whole different story. But the story I want to tell is maybe a little bit more close to home in terms of understanding how it builds credibility without you realizing it. Um, I I had a lot of friends who were artists. I'd play them on my show. It was kind of like an independent underground kind of that was like the thing. So I wasn't playing Green Day and Foo Fighters. I was playing more up and coming groups. And I like to tell people I've been in more press kits for bands than I've been on like 40 under 40 lists. Um, but a lot of these people became my friends. The artists, the producers, the engineers just became friends of mine. And I took a semester off in my junior year. I studied abroad, and I remember getting a message at like 3 a.m. my time because I was in Western Europe. It was like 3 a.m. my time, and it was from a group that what at the time anyway, it was two men, two women, and in Florida, which is a major music market. And basically the long and short of it was they had been working with this promoter, and he'd made some very uh, unwelcome advances. Use your imagination, and they decided not to work with him anymore, right? And the response was, "Oh, you'll never work in the state again," which, as an artist, is is scary because Florida is a huge market. And so if someone saying I'm going to call everybody in the state and make sure you can't book anything, that's very scary. That's very scary. And so one of these band members sent me a message like, "What do I do?" And I found myself. I went back. I was like, "Did I really write this?" I went back and I read the email I wrote, and it was like, "I will write you the best letter of recommendation for anything you've ever had. I'll write you the very best one. The one thing I can do in life is write, and I will write you the best recommendation, and I will make it look the most official that you've ever seen." Okay, they don't know that I'm just a college radio DJ. They don't know. Nobody knows that. If something um, comes across as being credible, people tend to believe it. And I didn't consider myself to be an expert, but in that moment, it was, this is something that I can do. This is some kind of power that I have that I can use for the benefit of somebody, to help somebody, to open those doors, or at least keep them open. I didn't set out to do that when I built, my little radio show, but that reputation spreads pretty quickly. Then it
Mhm.
becomes, this is somebody you want to know. This is somebody who recognizes how to wield the very little bit of power that they have in a way that's positive. That builds networks like wildfire. I mean, it builds relationships that the wheels turning in the background that you just can't even see, and you
Well,
never know when it's going to
yeah,
happen.
but you brought passion to it. I mean, these were people that you knew.
Hmm.
This was music that you were comfortable with. You were passionate about the experience.
Hmm.
And that passion always shows through. If you are half-heartedly networking, yeah, sure, give me a call.
Right,
Reach out, we can do business.
right,
If it is too salesy, okay, I have the solution. Now how much would you pay? But wait.
right. Well, I got a story for you, and you're on LinkedIn, so I'm sure you're going to say, "Oh, me too." Right? So here's the story. We're going to call this portion of the conversation how to screw up a relationship in 4 messages. Okay? Somebody reached out to me, as they do on LinkedIn, and their their opening message was very unique. It just was unique. I can't even remember what it was that was so unique, but it was positively unique. And I made a mental note. I was buried in work those like 2 or 3 weeks, buried in work and personal, commitments. But I made a mental note. Okay, I'm going to go back and speak to this person, send them a message when I have the time to really focus. And then I got a message a couple days later that was, "Oh, have you seen my message? Blah, blah, blah." And I was thinking, okay, it's not my favorite when people do that, but your first message was so good and so different. I'm going to let that slide. Then the third message that came like a day later was, "Have you seen this?" And the fourth message was like, "Are you okay?" And it was like, bro, listen, I got a life. Okay. I have responsibilities. I have my own stuff going on, as does everybody. Gotta run to pick up the kids, get the car fixed. COVID changes everything. I mean, there's a zillion things to do. And then by the last exchange, wasn't an exchange. The last message was, you know what? If you can't wait around for me to focus on your message, which I'd already decided in my head I was going to focus on it, not just send out cool message, bro. Um, that's telling me that you are trying to offload something so quickly. It's like backing up the truck into my driveway, dumping it on my front lawn and saying, "Okay, give me the money, give me the check," right? And running. Right? It tells me that you have no faith in yourself or your services or what we could do together. There's no mutual benefit that's going to come out of this. So that's how to screw up a potential relationship in 4 messages. And had this person, it's a man, had this person just waited, um, I probably would have gotten back to them with a message that was more than just, "Oh, thanks." And that baffles me. The reality is that with networking, I'll use a gardening example because I'm not a gardener, so no one's going to know if I'm right or wrong. Um, Here's the gardening example. Building a network is like planting a flower, right? You can't you can't force it to grow. You have to wait. So what a lot of people do, people live in extremes. You have the people who overwater it. Did you get my email? Did you get my email? Did you get my email? And it becomes like, uh, in my mind, there's this great Family Guy clip where people used to carry pictures in their wallets, and it's like somebody taking their wallet and like smacking you in the face with it. Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? You know, and it's just like, leave me alone, right? They're overwatering it because they're impatient. And then when that doesn't work, they run to the other extreme and say, there's nothing here. And then they don't water it. And then the flower dies. And because they live in extremes, had they been patient, and patience is hard, had they been patient, it would have been theoretically a different experience. But that's why networking sucks for so many people, is they live on those extremes and it doesn't work in those extremes. So
Okay.
there it
So
is.
with that said, I just shared your LinkedIn profile URL.
Okay.
Now that people know what not to do,
Right.
what should they do to engage and connect?
That's a great question. The answer is, I love starting off with what not to do because it's typically very concrete. The question of what should we do is a lot more flexible. That's why I like to start kind of working back towards that, because there's no real right answer. There's no magic way in my experience to hack your way to a network. People have to understand what when you say, I want to connect with this person, the first thing you should be asking yourself is why. Why do I want to connect with this person? What sort of value can I bring them, and can they bring me, and can it be a mutually beneficial dynamic? Because if the answer is just money, oh, they make a great customer, and that's valid, okay, but that's sales. That's not networking. And that's very, very important. I'm not telling people, when I say non-transactional, I am not saying don't do business. Do business. Business is very good. It should be good for lots of people all around. What people should be doing is saying, I want to learn from this person. I want to network with this person because I want to learn from them. I want to sidle close. I like the mission they're on. I want to emulate their example. I want to understand how I can learn these techniques, or how I can get more involved in this organization. Okay, these are things that you're getting out of it, but they're also things that have an inherent value creation factor for somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's really critical. 80%, 85% of everything I tweet or post or put up is supporting someone else, supporting another founder that's doing amazing, supporting a mission I believe in, supporting an organization that's killing it, supporting somebody who I just think is a great person that people should know. That's what people should be doing. So go out there and be, if we're talking about real actionable tips for LinkedIn, you have to be in the conversation. You have to be in the conversation. And that can feel daunting, because it can feel like, oh, I need to now write an essay every morning, content creation and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
being in the conversation could be leaving comments that are more than just great post. It could be, hey, I really like these marketing tips. I'd love to hear more. Or I tried the second one, it didn't work, but I tried the fourth one and that was very helpful. It could be all kinds of things. And for the record, on LinkedIn, I know that all the LinkedIn influencers, many of whom are my friends and whom I respect, all say that there's like a pecking order on like things to do and things the algorithm likes and doesn't like. And always at the very bottom is sharing. Always, without a doubt, at the very bottom is sharing, because apparently the algorithm suppresses those posts, I'm told. That hasn't been my experience. The only times I've really ever gone viral were with sharing. I mean, really viral. I did 90,000 views on a post last week. I did 80,000 views 3 days prior. I wrote an article, which is on my page, about going viral. I think was it last year? I think it was, or maybe it was 2020. I was doing across 14 posts, give or take. I did like 1.7 million views, which is crazy. Just sharing content, just sharing great posts. That is something people can do in a way that's crediting somebody, explaining why they found value in this post, explaining why their audience members might want to take a look at this content creator. That's so easy to share.
It is. And
Um,
to echo that, to build on that, some of my best customers have been referral by
mhm,
someone who I helped them solve a problem.
mhm,
They were experiencing, how do you do this on Zoom? And I gave them that answer. And then
mhm.
they passed my name along to someone else. And it's like, oh, sure, let's work together. But it wasn't have I got a solution for you? It was it was just answering somebody's question.
And that's often how it works. So I'm going to tell you and tell the audience how one single tweet led to basically not everything I've done in the last 2 years, but how did that lead to working with Techstars? How did it lead to being at the Tech Village? I'm going to explain very quickly how one tweet did that. In September of 19, prior to COVID, I was scrolling through Twitter and I see this tweet from somebody who's here in the Atlanta tech scene, who at the time was just like a casual, we kind of knew each other, not really. Now she's a good friend of mine, and she was tweeting about um, conference, an event that was going on. And I looked at the event. It was like media. It was like South by Southwest, but obviously not as big. It was kind of much more compact. But it looked interesting. It was more film oriented, but it was still interesting to me. There was a tech component, and I looked at the price and I said, nah, it's outside my budget right now. But I sent her a message, I sent her a DM, and I said, I looked at this, I saw your tweet, I looked at this, outside my budget right now. But after it's over, I'd love to set up a 15-minute Zoom chat and understand how can I create some value here? Because I'm really plugged into the music world. I'm really plugged into the tech world. Maybe there's some ways that I can be involved in helping create this for next year,
Mhm.
obviously prior to COVID. And within 20 minutes, I got a response back that was, oh, I've seen your stuff. I'll comp your ticket. Just come down. I love what you're about. Just come down. And I was like, floored, floored by that. And that's, we can get into the story maybe more later, but I ended up that first day. This was in October of 19. Ended that first day 40 floors above Atlanta, looking at the Atlanta skyline in a room, a penthouse with all the people who had just given talks at this thing, all the people who were the guests, the panelists, the people who put it on. I was looking around going, what am I doing here? And that can't. Oh, I only went down there with two goals in mind: to shake her hand and thank her for the opportunity to come to the event and to take a picture, right, for Twitter. And it became, oh, I gotta run and clean up the stuff and help close it down. Just come to the after party. It's fine. Just follow the group. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That stuff happens when you're not looking, when you're not selling. It's crazy. And from that, I was talking to somebody, and in February, I get a message, hey, I'm working with Techstars. Would you want to work with me on this project? You have a huge network. I've already spoken to Techstars. They'd love to have you. I ended up as a track captain for Techstars Startup Week, which was virtual because of COVID. As a moderator, as a panelist, that has now led to doing talks at the Atlanta Tech Village, and now as an advisor at the Atlanta Tech Village for this calendar year. One tweet. That was
Wow.
one tweet. And that's what I wish that I could really, really hit home for a lot of people, is that this stuff happens. It's not just in the movies, but if we're going to use a baseball metaphor, which is funny because I'm not a huge sports guy, but if we're going to use a baseball metaphor, people oftentimes only see the end game. Oh, you caught that pop fly, but how many people are going to be able to catch that, right? Yeah, but you didn't see all the prep that took the for me to be in the right place at the right time, to know the right people, to have the right kinds of dialogues, to have the right kind of reputation. All of that prep work is prepping the ground so that when that baseball is coming your way, you're not 700 feet that way. You are right where you should be. And then what people perceive is the end game of, oh, something happened because of that. But you have to prep the ground. And if you don't prep the ground, you're going to miss that opportunity and it's going to go to someone else. And you're going to say, well, yeah, of course, that doesn't happen in real life. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It does. It does. So self-belief. All right.
Yeah.
Storytelling, it seems, is intertwined through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is a beautiful thing. So some takeaways from today:
Mm-hmm.
don't sell, connect. Connect
Yes.
on a human emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
Although you're not a sports fan. Okay, sure. All right. I'm in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
home of the 3-13-1 Detroit Lions. Uh, will that help me connect with some? Oh, yeah. Commiserating about the Lions or celebrating those 3 wins. I know we beat so and so. Yeah, we weren't supposed to, but we did.
Oh, we did.
It is, being open to those conversations and that connection.
I think that that's a really great example because the real life connections, the intricacies of people, whether we're talking about which sports teams you like or don't like, which music you like, which TV shows you like, what you're really doing is learning who somebody is. And you're learning if the more you can understand about who they are, you can understand about the mission that they're driving towards. You can understand about the journey that they're on, and you can become uh, knowledgeable about how to create value for that journey in a way that's mutually beneficial. You can understand how to become part of that person's orbit without becoming one of those, have I got a sale for you? Have I got a product for you? And I think that that is critically important. I mean, I will say this, it's hard sometimes to disentangle the numbers factor from networking. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who look at my follower count and go, oh, well, not 50,000 followers. So what kind of message could it possibly be? That's okay. But those people are looking at the wrong things. Because if they take the time to look at my Twitter follow list and see who are the people who follow me, I mean, what's the caliber of those people? Investor, journalist, founder. I mean, some of them I could go on and on, but these are people who are sought after. And I've been able to build conversations with them over a period of time that facilitate dialogues and accessibility. But that stuff isn't reflected in follower count, number follower count. And that's really critical. And the storytelling aspect is really critical. Um,
Okay.
so I think that's a great way to wrap it up because that's something that people can go out and do.
It is. And hey, here's a challenging question for you.
Hmm.
What is one piece of media,
Hmm.
whether it is a book, a show, music, that you would advise people to consume, that you would say, hey, Give this a shot. Or I tell you what, if you want, you can go 2 pieces.
I'm gonna use a very unconventional example. So there's a book, and it's called The Island at the Center of the World. And it's all about New York City before the English took it over and made it an English colony. It's about the run up as a Dutch colony. And the reason that I use this, it's by Russell Shorto, came out maybe 10 years ago. And the reason I use this book as an example is because, I'm a history student. I've studied American history, European history, colonial history. I love that kind of stuff. This book redefined how I saw New York, how I saw American history. It redefined how I understood things that we now identify as American. So freedom and tolerance of religion, the commercial aspect of being able to define, upward mobility in terms of economic upward mobility, at least in theory. It redefined my understanding of something I thought I knew so much about. And I use that as an example because we can always be learning things that redefine the lenses through which we see the world. And great networkers go out there and understand that one conversation can redefine how you see something. Maybe you didn't see something before, or you didn't understand the depth of the seriousness of something, or it just never occurred to you. It doesn't make you a bad person. But being open to understanding how to redefine your thought process is a masterful networking skill.
All right, I have just added that book to my list. The Island at the Center of the World, The Epic Story of Dutch Manhattan and the Forgotten Colony That Shaped America by Russell Shorto.
That's his name, right? Right.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
This has been a lot of fun. We should do it again.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Cheers.